Today, I want to share a framework that has the potential to fundamentally change how we think about sales, trust, and client relationships. For decades, many industries have relied on information asymmetry. The professional knew more than the consumer, and that knowledge gap often became part of the sales process. The problem is that consumers have changed. They have more access to information, more skepticism, and more options than ever before. The Transparent Advisor's Playbook is built around a simple idea. Instead of trying to manage the information gap, we eliminate it. By creating open access standards, complete fee visibility, and consultative selling processes, we transform the advisor from a salesperson into a trusted guide. Today, I'll walk through the framework, the tools, and the conversations that make this possible. This is Steve Koleno, and this is Confidential Remarks. One of the biggest misconceptions in business is the belief that great service automatically creates great sales. Unfortunately, that is rarely true. Many advisors become trapped in a cycle where they rely heavily on referrals and reputation while struggling to create predictable growth. At the same time, consumers often approach professional services with suspicion. They worry about hidden fees, unclear agreements, and whether the person across from them is genuinely trying to help or simply trying to close a deal. This creates a trust gap. The advisor believes they are providing value, but the consumer is evaluating risk. When trust and clarity are missing, deals stall, objections increase, and opportunities disappear. The real issue is not service quality. The issue is the missing bridge between expertise and trust. The most important shift in this playbook is moving from salesperson to consultant. Traditional sales conversations often focus on the service itself. The advisor explains what they do, what is included, and why they are different. The transparent advisor takes a completely different approach. Instead of pitching services, they diagnose problems. They act more like a doctor than a salesperson. Doctors do not begin with prescriptions. They begin with questions. They seek to understand symptoms, causes, and outcomes before recommending a solution. The same principle applies here. Transparency replaces hidden fees. Consultation replaces persuasion. And proactive problem solving replaces reactive objection handling. When we make this shift, the entire client experience changes. Most sales challenges originate from a reality gap. Professionals often assume consumers understand the value being provided. Consumers often see complexity, uncertainty, and financial risk. What seems obvious to us is often unclear to them. This gap creates hesitation. It creates objections. And it creates delay. The solution is not better persuasion. The solution is better visibility. The more clearly consumers can see the process, the options, and the outcomes, the easier it becomes for them to move forward confidently. Trust is not built through explanation alone. Trust is built through transparency. The open access standard is designed to create trust before the sales conversation even begins. It consists of 3 simple pillars. First, search and verify. Consumers should be able to evaluate whether an advisor meets transparency standards before making a commitment. Second, customize service. Instead of forcing clients into one-size-fits-all packages, they should be able to choose the level of support that matches their needs. Third, sign with control. Every agreement should provide complete visibility into fees and services. Together, these pillars fulfill what many consumers want most: clarity, choice, and control. And when those needs are met, trust becomes a natural outcome rather than something we have to earn through persuasion. The discovery process should not feel like an interview. It should feel like a diagnosis. Within the first few minutes of a conversation, our goal is not to present solutions. Our goal is to understand the complete situation. We begin by identifying the pain. What specific problem brought them here today? Next, we uncover the trigger. Why is this problem urgent now? Then we explore the return on investment. What is the value of solving this problem? We discuss budget early, not late. And finally, we define the next step. This process prevents premature pitching and ensures we fully understand the client before recommending anything. Most buyers describe symptoms. Very few immediately reveal root causes. That is why we have to dig deeper. At the surface level, we identify the pain. What problem are they experiencing? At the middle level, we identify the trigger. What changed? Why is this becoming urgent now? At the deepest level, we uncover the consequences. What happens if nothing changes? This is where true motivation lives. When clients clearly understand the cost of inaction, they begin to see the value of action. That clarity creates urgency far more effectively than any sales technique ever could. One of the most expensive mistakes advisors make is avoiding budget conversations. Many professionals delay the discussion because they worry it may create discomfort. The reality is that avoiding the conversation creates far more problems. If the client never sees the financial picture, they cannot accurately evaluate the opportunity. Budget is not an obstacle. Budget is a qualification tool. By discussing costs early, we save time, establish expectations, and determine whether a solution is realistic. Transparency around investment builds confidence. Avoiding investment conversations creates uncertainty. The sooner we establish financial reality, the more productive the rest of the conversation becomes. This is where transparency becomes tangible. Instead of presenting a single bundled offer, we present a menu of services. Each component is clearly defined. Each cost is visible. And each option can be selected based on the client's needs. This approach shifts control to the consumer. They are no longer buying a mystery package. They are building a customized solution. Transparency reduces resistance because clients understand exactly what they are paying for and why. When people feel in control, decision-making becomes easier, and easier decisions lead to better outcomes for everyone involved. When buyers raise financial concerns, many advisors immediately reduce their price. That response often weakens credibility and reduces perceived value. The open access approach takes a different path. Instead of lowering the price, we adjust the scope. We place the menu back in front of the client and ask a simple question. Which service would you like to remove to better fit your budget? Now the discussion shifts from discounting value to prioritizing value. The client remains in control. The advisor maintains professional integrity, and the conversation continues moving forward. Transparency becomes a shield that protects both trust and profitability. The best objection handling happens before objections appear. Most concerns fall into three categories: time and money, other decision makers, and self-doubt based on past experiences. By identifying these concerns early, we eliminate surprises later. We can discuss budget realities up front. We can identify who else needs to be involved. And we can uncover previous frustrations before they become roadblocks. The goal is not to overcome objections. The goal is to prevent them. When concerns are addressed proactively, closing becomes a natural conclusion rather than a negotiation. Follow-up is not about persistence. It is about value. Many prospects need time before making a decision. That is normal. Instead of repeatedly asking whether they are ready, we continue providing useful insights. For active prospects, every follow-up should deliver something valuable: a framework, a case study, or a new perspective. For colder prospects, a thoughtful breakup message can often be surprisingly effective. It removes pressure while encouraging honesty. The objective is simple. Every interaction should create value. When value remains present, momentum remains alive. After diagnosis, transparency, qualification, and discussion, there comes a moment when a decision is required. At that point, we ask a straightforward question. Based on everything we have covered, does it make sense to get started? Then we stop talking. Silence is powerful. It creates space for a real decision. Too many opportunities are lost because advisors continue selling after the sale has already been earned. Ask the question. Be quiet. Allow the prospect to decide. Simple often works best. The micro-close creates two possible paths. If the answer is yes, we move forward confidently. If the answer is no, we seek understanding. We ask what still needs to be resolved. Then we listen carefully. The response often reveals the final barrier. At that point, we return to transparency. We revisit the menu, we revisit the options, and we work collaboratively to address the concern. The objective is not pressure. The objective is clarity. Every answer moves us closer to a definitive outcome. As we conclude, I want to return to the central idea behind this entire playbook. Success comes from closing the gap between expertise and trust. We diagnose instead of pitch. We verify instead of assume. We customize instead of package. We protect against objections before they occur. And we ask confidently for a decision when the time is right. Transparency is not a concession. It is not a marketing tactic. It is a competitive advantage. When consumers experience clarity, choice, and control, trust accelerates. And when trust accelerates, growth follows. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your commitment to building a more transparent future. This has been Confidential Remarks.